Welcome to the Less Glove, More Fist podcast.
With me, Coach Bronson.
And me, Coach Nat.
Where we peel back the curtains and reveal the truth behind hot topics in health and fitness.
This is Keto Fit Life.
Unfiltered. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Less Glove, More Fist with Coach Bronson.
And Coach Nat.
And today we are going to be talking about our journey as coaches, the coach's journey, how we got started, why we're doing it, and for anyone that's interested in becoming a coach, some things that you can use to make sure you're doing what you need to do on your journey to be the best coach and all that good stuff.
The certifications you can look into, resources, experience, how we got to where we are, and what we would recommend for you just getting started today.
Yeah. And, as we're saying this intro, I'm thinking about we could do a whole episode just on the mindset of coaching.
Oh boy.
Because that's a whole, we're gonna try and keep this.
We'll touch on that today.
We'll touch on it a little bit, but I think let's try to keep it more practical, tactical.
Excuse me, have we met?
And answer some questions and give some people some things that they can actually do. Because I do think that we could do a whole episode on the mindset of a coach and what it takes to be a
journey,
good coach.
The process.
Well, and just the mentality of what it takes. Like who should be a coach? What do you need? Where does your mind need to be a good coach? What makes a good coach? How being a coach is different than being a friend, is different than just answering questions for there's a lot of stuff that wow. That just kind of blossomed
we have
in my
on
head.
our topic list.
Yep.
Exactly that. How to be a good coach.
Right, because we also want to talk about how to be a good client.
And how to select a good coach.
Yeah.
How to find the right coach for you.
And how to find a good client.
Yes.
Because that's part of the process too. So there might be a couple different episodes that we do about this whole coaching thing. Mine is way closer than yours, isn't it? That's why. Anyways, we're fine. Okay, so we are live as always. Our podcast, if you didn't know, we're doing these live on Instagram as well. So we will be taking questions. If anyone has any questions live, please ask. We will take them down. We're trying to keep the topics to things specifically focused on what we're talking about today. So if you have any questions about nutrition, fitness, whatever else, go ahead and ask them. We'll take them down, maybe respond at another date. If you have coaching questions, though, please ask away. So how do we start this? We want to start this with how we got started in coaching.
Sure, yeah.
Okay?
Let's start from the beginning.
Because mine started with fitness coaching. What did yours start with?
Oh boy. Mine probably actually started even before health and fitness.
Okay. You know what? Mine did too. Ooh.
Oh.
We're going to go back. We're going to go far back. Okay.
I didn't even reflect to think of what I would say.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, it was like, oh my God, I forgot about a whole nother part of my life. Okay.
Okay, well, what came to mind when I just said that? I'm
Well,
curious.
so I, from a health and fitness perspective, it started when in my late 30s, early 40s when I got into CrossFit.
Okay.
Previous to that, I was an instructor, I was a coach, a trainer in the Army.
Okay.
So I was the course manager for several different courses in the Delaware National Guard. We did emergency management. We did Army combatives, which is like mixed martial arts in the military. And I was instructor in master course.
I was so impressed by that when he told me that he did that in the military. I was like, that is hot.
So that's part of it. So I have experience and I've been exposed to what it's like to teach people and to see them change and to see them grow and develop and things like that. Before that, in my previous life in IT, I was a technical instructor. So I would teach people how to use technology, teach people how to implement and utilize things and build systems and things like that. So not even thinking about it, there have been aspects of my life for the past 20 plus years where I've been in that teacher, mentor kind of coaching role.
Yep.
So it kind of makes sense now that that's what I'm doing because it's super fun. I love it.
And that goes into what you said a second ago about, well, who would make a good coach? How do you know that this is something that you could be good at? And I do think that there is some inherent, can you learn the skills to be a good coach? Absolutely. You can hone those. With anything, I would say you can hone the skills to be good at anything. So that the concept that you have to be born this way or born with a particular skill set or talent in certain things is going to play in more than others, like sports or, the arts. If you're either born with an incredible gift that you can then hone to become the master at that craft or not in certain areas. Coaching is an area where you absolutely can hone the skills to be great at it, but some people are naturally born with this really purpose. I believe that both of us landed here because this purpose was put on our hearts. It was something that was we are doing what we were meant to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a lot of moments of clarity around that where it just kind of the light bulb goes on. It's like I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do on this earth. So I say that because for me, I've always been a classic overachiever. And yeah, I was the everything from elementary school straight A student, like never miss a day of school, a perfect attendance record, like all of that through high school, getting into leadership positions, right?
So yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
We're very similar in that thing. Like if you put us in a room with 100 people and something happens and they're like, hey, we need someone to do whatever, inevitably it will be us that are just like, okay, we're in charge now. How the hell did that happen?
And like Bronson's the guy.
Like, what the hell?
Y'all know people like this. Bronson's the guy who will run into the fire when everybody else is running away. Like, whatever the emergency situation is, this guy's running toward it. How can I help? How can I fix this? How can I save people? Whatever it might be, right? That's really kind of your thing. With me, I was always the somebody else saw that in me and gave me the opportunity. And then people just naturally started following me or naturally started asking me questions or leaned toward me to become the leader. I wasn't like naturally just going to jump out there and do it, but found myself over and over in those situations. And I am a performer. I do love the limelight part of it. So that part was also attractive to me. So in high school, I started dancing. I didn't dance when I was like 2 years old in the tutu in the little baby dance studio. But in middle school, I would say I got really interested in the arts, in dance in particular. And then I got into it in high school. So I became the captain of the color guard. I was leading there. Lots of clubs in high school. It was like officer positions. And then even more in college. It was just like all the things in college. But particularly I started in the beginner level dance as a freshman in high school. And then by my senior year in high school, I was the aide. I was in advanced class and I was the aide for the beginner level classes. And then I went to school for dance. And so it was always this ending up in a leadership role, right? So that was through high school and college.
Default to mentor.
Yeah.
Default to mentor status.
And even when I took positions, entry-level positions in the restaurant, I'd become a trainer after the first month, right? Or Disney. I went and worked for Disney for a year after college. And that was just an internship, supposed to be a 1-year internship for me. I ended up being a trainer by the end of it and, training the new employees.
Yeah, and I think the key to that when you're thinking about what makes a good coach and why we've kind of naturally fall into that, it's not because we're better than anybody. It's not because we're smarter than anybody. I think looking at it, it's really about how well can we transfer information in a way that people can understand.
Yes.
Can we connect with people and help them connect to the data, to the information that they can actually do something with the information? I think we're both very good at helping people connect with what they're trying to do and then actually do something with it.
I don't know if we were talking about this recently or if I saw this somewhere, but there is a difference between an athlete and a coach.
Oh, 100%.
Just because you might be an elite athlete in your sport does not mean you would make a good coach.
In fact, most athletes are crappy ass coaches. So just for your own benefit, if you are watching this and you have been looking for a coach, I highly recommend you save yourself some time. unless somebody is a high-performing athlete and you know that they have some training, some experience, and they have people they've coached who are happy with the product that they've been given, avoid athletes as coaches.
And this can go for a lot of influencers as well.
Most influencers, most athletes. Just because someone looks good, just because someone is super strong, they had a coach that put them through a training program. They didn't come up with that training program themselves. Okay? So find that person's coach and hire them, but don't get the athlete. The athletes make horrible coaches.
Excuse me, I'm an athlete.
You had the experience of coaching and doing this kind of stuff before you became an athlete.
That's true, actually.
Right?
That is very true. Actually, that's a really good point, too. That's another thing I was thinking about the other day is, don't look at me and think that this is like, I didn't come out of the womb as an athlete. I a lot of the time, I get into the chats in Facebook groups and, I'll say something about protein or say something about muscle building. And then somebody will say, yeah, but you're different. Right? It's like, but I couldn't do that because you're this pro athlete. Yeah, I worked to become a pro athlete. Before I was a pro athlete, I was an amateur athlete. And before I was an amateur athlete, I wasn't an athlete at all. And you're right. I have been professionally coaching longer than I've been an athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
That's such a powerful
100%.
statement.
Yeah. The coaching has always come first for me.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
So
let's just do this real quick.
Oh, yeah, there was a great comment.
Marnie made a comment, said, I had a trainer a few years back, told me I didn't need to know anything, just do what he says. I was lost after I had to live without him.
I hate trainers like that.
That's the difference between a trainer and a coach. Trainers are there to give you something to do and make you do it. A coach is there to teach you how to be self-sustaining. That is the difference. And you want to find coaches. Trainers are good short term. If you don't have anything to follow, you don't know what to do,
or
whatever.
If you need the hands-on in person to help with your form and check your imbalances and the kinds of things that are really great for in person.
Yeah. And but if you want someone who's going to actually help you, again, connect with your why, connect with the concepts and the principles, and I think that's another big difference between coaches and trainers. A good coach is going to look at the principles and concepts of what's successful in health and fitness and teach you how to apply those concepts to your life. A good trainer knows techniques. They don't know those techniques outside of the concept and principles. So they can only tell you how to do something, not why to do something.
Well, and actually, I usually tell people when they're working with a trainer, you should be asking your trainer why. Why did they program this that way? Why do you have this many exercises to do? Why did they give you this split? Why this exercise? Why this? Ask the questions because they really should be teaching you about why they're programming the way that they're programming for you, for your goals. And you have every right to know that. And the trainers that are leaning on the wanting to keep you ignorant, that's because they want you to depend on them. To only be able to come back to them and to not be able to do it on your own. I know for both of us, and some coaches are likely going to do that as well. So I wouldn't even call it.
That's not just.
I wouldn't say it's just trainers and coaches.
Anybody.
It's good coaches and good trainers versus poor coaches and poor trainers because they're thinking the scarcity mentality and they just want to keep you on the hook for them.
Absolutely.
Good coaches, and the way we do it with our clients, we want them to be self-sustaining by the time that they finish with us. We call it graduation for a reason.
Graduate from us. There should be a point in time where we have taught you everything that you need to know to be self-sustaining, and then you can go out and just have a blast. That's when you get to that point, everything, it's so much easier. It's so much better. You're not stressing out over everything. You understand what things are happening and why they're happening and how you can make adjustments. And instead of, oh my God, something happened. What do? I got to call coach. Like, that is such a limiting. That is literally no different than my lifestyle when I had IBS and urgent bowels. I couldn't do anything because I wasn't sure. So I had to go check. I had to make sure I had to do this. It's living your life tied to a lack of information, a lack of being able to take action because you're
lack of ownership.
So scared.
It's a lack of ownership.
You're giving ownership over to this person instead of taking it yourself. And we want to help you have that ownership of your own life in your own hands.
Exactly.
So
Don't give your power away to anyone else.
Coaching is all about for us. So, okay, so we both got started with coaching before we realized we were getting started with coaching.
Yep.
Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and then from all of that to the corporate world, well, for me it was nonprofit, the same thing, leadership positions and training. I ran the volunteer and internship program for a while, and then took on higher leadership positions where I had employees and things of that nature. And then I got into...
You could be my boss.
I am your boss. He knows I'm the boss. And then I got into leading spiritual retreats. So sometimes I forget about this but it is still a passion of mine to eventually have a retreat that is a mind-body health retreat and combining all of my experience in that area. But I got started in religious retreats in the church and, the director of those. So leading people spiritually. And that is very similar to coaching.
Yes.
In many ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
In health and fitness.
Yeah. So how did you make the transition from that into, I want to be a health and fitness coach, I want to be a wellness coach, or whatever?
Really for me, it was because of what this lifestyle did for me. Okay. So I went paleo back in 2011, 2012, and it changed my life. I got off all of my medications. I reversed all of my chronic conditions. I found a level of health I never knew was possible, and I wanted to teach other people about it. So that's really where it started. Mm-hmm. I went to my first Paleo FX in 2016, and this was also when I was prepping for my first competition.
That was my first Paleo FX too.
And we didn't know each other, and we didn't meet each other back then. The universe has an interesting way about it. Yeah. We needed to meet when we did. And not a moment too soon.
Or too late.
Exactly.
Because it could have been too
late. Oh gosh, I'm so glad.
It could have been too
late. I digress. So at that point I had already, I'd been into pole dance fitness, into aerial arts. I built up some upper body strength, some core strength. I got my first 6-pack with paleo and Whole30. So I changed my health, I changed my body, I changed my lifestyle, and then I decided I wanted to get into competing. So I was in the midst of this competition prep. I went to Paleo FX. I picked up information at the time about NTA, Nutritional Therapy Association.
Okay.
I learned about becoming a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I was interested in that. I did not end up doing it until 4 or 5 years later, because it was last year that I finally finished that certification. Yep. But that's also where I got introduced to the Primal Health Coach Institute and Mark Sisson, which I think I'd already been familiar with Mark Sisson at that point, but I learned more about Primal Health Coach.
The program. Yeah. Okay.
And it was new. I think it was the first year they were doing it. It might have even been 2017 when they did the first one.
What were you thinking? You're like, I'm at this conference. I see this here. I've heard about it. I want to look into it. What were you thinking? Like, why were you even interested in looking into that certification? Or any certification?
I think at that point, oh gosh, okay, now you're bringing me back because I forgot all about this. At that point, I had led a January Whole30.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I'd done those a few times.
Okay.
I was doing about 2 a year.
This is new. We never talked about this. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, okay. I forgot about this too. Yeah. Back in the day, I did my first Whole30 back in 2013. And it was probably the most life-changing experience. Even with paleo and going down that rabbit hole of learning about low carb and clean eating and all of that and how all of that changed my health. But Whole30 was more of a mind and body experience because it really changed the way you think about food and the way you put a plate together. And it made you take out everything that was a dessert or a replication of a dessert using whole food ingredients. And
I just thought of something.
What?
We need to totally steal Whole30's idea and do a Keto 30.
Yeah, totally.
And do like a keto
Clean
30 program.
keto.
Clean keto 30-day challenge.
One of those years that I did the Whole 30, I did a keto Whole 30.
Yeah, I mean that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Whole 30 was profound for me in the way the relationship with food department, and then also around that time I was starting up a blog that I didn't do much with. I was
Been there, done that.
I was really into my faith, so the blog started as, you know what it was called?
What?
The Catholic Cave Girl.
Oh my God! Oh, we did talk about that. I remember that. The Catholic Cave Girl.
And
that's awesome.
I put a few like personal journal entries on there about my fitness journey.
Yep.
I actually to this day I'm still getting clients who have found me from that old blog when I talked about my very first keto bikini prep. How funny is that?
I'm Googling it.
I
right
don't
now
think
to
you're
see if
gonna
it comes
find
up.
it because I got rid of the URL years ago.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. So the blog that I'm actually getting ready to get rid of, and another old blog, Naturally Fed, is what that became. And I moved the blog posts over there. Yep. But there were, I did like 4 in a year. Like it would be
there wasn't a lot. Yeah,
once a quarter I'd write something. So I was starting to document my fitness journey and my health journey. And I wanted to share with people. That's really where it started from.
Yeah. There's something about the impact that it has that it's just like, it's so profound and so contrary to everything that we've been told that it's like once you realize the impact and the effect that it has, it's like
you can't shut up.
You can't not talk to you can't not do something.
People need to know.
Share the information because it's like, why didn't here's what it is.
Why didn't
anyone tell me? Yeah. Why didn't anybody tell me? I can't let that happen to other people.
Right.
It's just this overriding, like, there's so many things that people don't know that are screwing them up. And I just feel like I can't not do something about it.
Well, and I don't know about you, but I would say for most of us, eventually, this doesn't happen immediately. Yeah. Immediately, you might get some hate from those in your initial geographic location.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Finish your statement and we'll talk about that.
So initially, you're likely going to get hate. You're going to get pushback from your loved ones, from the people that you're seeing face-to-face in your community. But over time, as you become more consistent with your lifestyle and you get results, people are going to start asking questions. Yeah. So that's another thing that naturally led me into this coaching space. I would start getting interest. I would start getting questions at work, especially at work, because I ate all my meals at work. I would be there eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the office. Yeah. And people would see what I ate, and then they'd ask me questions about it, and that would take us down rabbit holes. And then people would start meal prepping their food and bringing it in. And look, Natalie, look what I did. Like Natalie. And so I started doing the Whole 30 groups for that reason. It was like, how's a way that I can bring people in? And I would do challenges, and I would just put together a Facebook group, do a challenge. They were always free. 1 year, I think I started doing giveaways with it, and it blew up. Like I posted it on my Instagram, and people I didn't know were joining. Usually it was just people I knew, right? Yeah. And then the last time I did it, I don't remember what year it was, I had all these new people in my ecosystem. And that was when I started working with a business coach to decide, okay, I need to come up with a brand. I want to make this a business.
You start realizing there's a future here. Like there's a way you can actually impact people and make a living off of it.
And I think that was when I signed up for the Primal Health Coach. I think I did that certification in 2018. Okay. But in 2017, I actually led my first coaching group.
Right.
My first ever mind-body transformation. Now, if you've read my bio, I call myself a mind-body transformation coach. That very first year, 2017, was when I just decided to, throw together this 12-week program, and it was mind-body transformation. We worked on all of the things that are still my tenets to this day. Okay. Nutrition, movement, lifestyle, and mindset.
So for me, because my initial journey really started on the fitness side of things, getting into CrossFit and understanding how fitness. So from the things I learned through CrossFit made me realize I knew nothing about fitness. Everything that I thought about fitness was absolutely not at all right. And it was just, again, it was that same kind of like, where has this been? Like, I'm almost 40 years old. What the hell? Now at the time, CrossFit had been around for probably almost 10 years at the time. But it was still so new. It was still just becoming a thing that people were hearing and understanding and whatever. And getting exposed to that totally changed my outlook on what fitness was. I loved it. I loved every freaking thing about it. And I was coming up on 20 plus years in IT.
Wow.
And I was getting, into that 40 plus range of age. And I'm looking at, okay, I'm not going to do IT for the rest of my life. What's next? Where am I going? What is my plan? And realize, hey, you know what? The barrier to entry to become a gym owner, a CrossFit gym owner, is way lower than a traditional gym owner. You can become a CrossFit owner for $100,000 investment versus multi-million-dollar investment to be a regular conventional gym owner with all the equipment and the space that you need and everything else that goes into that. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. I took out a home improvement loan on a brand new house.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. And then had money saved up. I took out a home improvement loan, which I was so glad. It was like one of those online ones. Like it wasn't even I went to a bank. It was like Quicken Loans or something like that, home improvement, because they process it and guarantee your amount. They give you your amount in like 24 hours or something like that. So I got most of my funding to open my gym on a home improvement loan on a house that didn't need home improvement. It was awesome. And then paid that off, all that stuff got taken care of. But yeah, so the barrier to entry was really low. So, I was
now,
like, this is...
Had you become a CrossFit coach already at this point?
I became a CrossFit coach when I decided I wanted to open a gym.
Okay.
Right? So, because you have to, number one, you have to be a coach to get a CrossFit affiliate.
Okay.
Number
that
two,
makes sense.
I interned at a gym in my area, the gym that I went to. I interned there for a little bit.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So I interned as a coach for a while. I got certified. I practiced. I did personal training. I learned a bunch of different things. And then I opened up the gym a year and a half or so after that. Had the gym for about 5 years. That process, owning a gym, working with people one-on-one, talk about lighting a fire. And a passion and just being able to see people every single day. It's different now. Now I get to see people online. I get to do weekly check-ins. I don't, yes, it's consistent and I see how people are doing, but to see people come in every day and to see them 4 or 5 days a week when there's days they don't want to be there, but they show up anyways, and then they leave knowing they had the best hour, the best time of their day in my facility. Mm-hmm. Right? That feeling of knowing that I'm impacting somebody, not even their life in general, but even just that day, the impact of them spending time in my environment that I've created helped them. When they got home, they were in a better mood. They had a better relationship with their kids, a better relationship with their family because of what they did with me.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a great feeling. There is something inherently, and this is something else to be cognizant of if you're interested in coaching. There is something inherently selfish about being a coach. We thrive on the feel good that we get from seeing other people succeed.
Y'all should see the energy in here after we get off a call with a client.
Oh my God. Or a group call, a call with a client, whatever else. The group calls are frigging... We get off a call and we just get up and like, ah! I got off a call recently and we got off and I got up and I just ran out in the living room. I was just like, I love my ladies. Because it's so awesome. It's so awesome.
And when I get off with a one-on-one client, he'll hear me go, I love her.
She melts after her calls. So it's super cool to be part of that process. We were talking about, that's how I got started really with the coaching thing. Again, we had that background of already doing this kind of stuff, realizing this is impactful. People need to know, how can I get the word out? And being a coach is just the natural progression of that.
Yep.
Of that.
Well, and because when you get, like I said, really consistent with this lifestyle and you get the results with this lifestyle, people start asking. And that's another thing I'd say for those of you thinking about it. You're probably thinking about coaching because people are starting to ask you for it. So most of the time, and I would say in business in general, any industry, any product, any service, if people are asking for it, that's the time. Yeah. That's when you know you've got to go into it. If you're trying to force something to make a buck, it's probably never going to happen.
It's not authentic.
And you're going to be fighting. Yeah. You're going to be uphill battle the whole way.
Yeah.
So if people, and that's where my ladies, the ladies who've asked me about coaching, that's where it's come from, because they're thriving in this lifestyle, and their friends are starting to ask them if they coach and if they can help them.
And then there's a process of understanding what is a coach and how if I'm going to coach, what do I need to do to be a good coach?
Yes.
Which we can talk about in a second, but let's talk about this negativity aspect, because I think there's two pieces to it that we need to understand. One is, in general, when you're making a change, people are going to be against it. It's a reflection on where they are, what they're not willing to do, the things that they need to do in their life that they know they need to do that they don't want to do.
You are their mirror.
You are a mirror of the changes that they're not making. So you have to understand that. So number one, be aware that when you go public with what you're doing and you put yourself out there as a coach, as someone who is now going to try and influence others to do what you're doing, you are opening yourself up for criticism.
And when you are taking payment for it.
Absolutely. So understand that, and understand that that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Right? Your experience and your passion to help people is no reflection on you when other people are giving you crap for it. It's a reflection on them. Okay?
We could do a whole episode on things we wish we knew, or things we would tell ourselves as new coaches.
Because just to give you an example, guys, I owned my gym. I'd had my gym running for about 3 years when I went carnivore. That process, just me going carnivore and me talking about what I was doing and answering questions when my clients were asking. I had gym members ask me, hey, what are you doing? You look fantastic. You seem great. You're talking about how you're not injured anymore. I see you in here working out more often than you were before because you're not as sore. Like seeing what's happening in my life, my own clients, and me answering their questions and then starting to talk about people. And hey, let's do a challenge. Who wants to do a carnivore challenge? Let's try it. I had people send me hate mail.
What?
My own clients send me hate mail. I had people
no idea.
cancel their membership and leave my gym because I was going to kill people. I didn't start coaching so that I could do something that was going to cause people more harm than good.
Wow, I had no idea you went through that.
I had people leave my gym. I had people who to this day won't talk to me face to face if I see them, because I've seen them in other locations, who to this day won't face me eye to eye and have a conversation because I went carnivore. Okay?
Wow.
Now I want you to think about something. I'm doing freaking great. Okay? When I see them, many of them are in worse physical condition than they were when I was working with them. They refused the information that I was giving and refused the opportunity to make a change, and instead they got defensive and fought for their own limitations, and now they are worse than they were 5 years ago. Okay? It's not you, it's them. Just understand that.
You have to know who you are, know your purpose, know your why, and stay grounded in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided to coach.
Yep.
For me, my process, starting in fitness, the first thing I did to be a good coach, I wanted to make sure I knew the technical stuff. What do I need to do? So I got CrossFit certified. So CrossFit has 4 levels of certification. I got level 1. Level 1 is the certification that lets you get on the floor and actually help people learn movements and run a class, that kind of stuff, and own a gym. You have to be at least a level 1 CrossFit certified trainer or a level 1 trainer in order to open a CrossFit gym. Okay, that's number 1. That's the first thing I did. From there, I've always been even in my IT. So just quick segue so you can see the parallels, which I haven't really done this before. This just popped in my head. When I started in IT in the mid to late 90s.
What a time to be in IT.
Okay, it was awesome because it was blowing up. Okay. I worked at Rent-A-Center at the time. I got out of the Army. I worked at Rent-A-Center in collections. Okay. We started renting these old ass HP computers at Rent-A-Center. I somehow became the de facto like computer repair guy. So anytime somebody had a computer problem, they'd call me. I'd go to their house. They'd bring it in. I'd fix it, whatever. So I started playing around. Like, this stuff is kind of cool, and ended up going to like this little trade school to get a little training and some stuff. Learned more because the trade school was wicked, like back alley.
Okay, his Boston
whatever.
just came out.
Yeah.
It's
it
wicked.
was wicked, back alley, low key. Was this even a legal place to be? Like, whatever. They took my GI Bill. That's the only reason I used them. The few months that I was there, I learned more of the curriculum than the people teaching the classes.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, this place, I can't do anything else here. So I got a job at help desk, worked that job for about a year. I quit Rent-A-Center, worked this job on a help desk for about a year, and then quit.
Okay.
Okay. Went home, told my wife at the time, I was like, I just quit. I'm going to I've been doing IT for like a year. I'm going to quit. I just quit. I'm going to freelance while I take certifications and classes to get more experience and training so that I can actually get a better job later.
I'm not at all surprised by this story, by the way.
So I quit.
This is exactly the way he works.
In 1 year's time, guess how many certifications in IT I got?
Oh my God. If we can judge by any of the strength and conditioning and sports and medicine, not medicine, nutrition and sports and all of that, then I would guess it's a whole lot.
Yeah, 13.
Oh, goodness.
In 12 months, I got 13 technical certifications. You name it, I got it. I went through everything I could possibly get my hands on. I went in 1 year time. I got a job a year later. I tripled my income.
Of course.
With
the
number of certifications, having the job where I was on help desk. I got out of that job. I took a year off, got all the certifications. I tripled my income. Every year for 5 years, I doubled my income.
Wow.
Just because of the certifications, because every year I'd get another one. I kept going. So it got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm good. This is great, whatever. And then that carried me through the rest of my career.
Wow.
But I did something similar on the fitness side. So on the fitness side, I got my CrossFit level 1. I went to a bunch of seminars and trainings and clinics on kettlebell and I don't know if you know Juggernaut systems, powerlifting, a bunch of different things. I got USA weightlifting certified. I got USA powerlifting certified. I took the CrossFit kettlebell course. I took the CrossFit weightlifting course. And then I also took the functional movement screen. So when I opened my gym, one of the things that I wanted to do was have a way to test people's movement before we just send them into a class.
Perfect. Yes.
Right? How do you actually move?
I wish more people in the CrossFit space would do that.
Right? How do you actually move your body before I have you doing all these exercises? So I got functional movement screen certified. And then it just kind of just kept going, right? I had a client at one point who was like, hey, I think I'd like to compete in weightlifting. Okay, if you don't know what weightlifting is, competitive weightlifting is the clean and jerk and the snatch. Okay, barbell movements, heavy weight, power movements. Not weightlifting, powerlifting. She was powerlifting. She wanted to compete in powerlifting, so deadlift, squat, and bench. So she came up to me. She's like, "Hey, what do we do?" I said, "Well, I guess I need to get level 2 certified with USA powerlifting because you have to be level 2 in order to be a coach and have a competitor." So I did that. We trained her. She competed, and that was that. So it just like progressed into all these different things. So that all the fitness stuff just kind of kept coming. And yeah, I was just soaking it up. I love the information because every single time I went to a certification, I got something that I could practically apply to the people that I was working with. This was a benefit when you're working with people face to face.
Yes.
It's a huge benefit.
Yep. And we should actually talk about that. When we get to what we recommend for others.
Yeah.
Certifications are incredible. Okay, they're great. But if you're sitting at your desk taking certifications and you're not working with people and you're not working on the application of the knowledge, they're almost worthless. effortless.
Yep, 100%.
So notice the way that he did that. He didn't go do all the certifications before he started doing the work. Both in IT and in the fitness space, you were doing the work that then got you interested in learning more about it. And then you went to seek out more information.
And the same thing happened with nutrition. The same thing happened with nutrition.
That's right.
I started doing the nutrition stuff first, going, what the hell is going on? And then I started learning about it and getting certified and doing other things on the nutrition side. So, yeah.
So that's a really key. I'm glad that you brought that up. It's a key distinction to make. And the same thing with me. I landed in it before I got any certifications. And actually, funny story there. My one and only ever competition client. So, by the way, if anybody, I get asked all the time, or I get comments all the time. I'd like to work with you, but I don't want to get on stage. Or I'd like to work with you, but I don't want to be a bikini competitor. I'm like, that's perfectly fine because none of my clients are bikini competitors. That may change this year. I think I'm finally dipping my toe back in that water. I have a couple ladies already that we're moving in that direction. But it's been many years since I've done competition prep coaching. And that is because I took on my first competition prep client when I was in my second year competing myself as an amateur. So after my very first competition, I had a friend reach out to me, wanted to do what I was doing, wanted to learn from me. She said, I know you want to become a coach eventually, and why don't I be your guinea pig? So we tried it out, and honestly, I mean, the outcome wasn't terrible. She became nationally qualified. She did incredible. But there was a lot of growing pains along that process of, I didn't know the structure. I didn't know how to properly handle customer client communications. And the post-show was a big mess because I didn't know how to handle the mental emotional side of it with the client and with myself. And then also competing at the same time and with her. So there was just a lot of confounding things. But I learned from that experience, and that was 2017. That was probably the thing that pushed me over the edge to go ahead and get the first coaching certification, which was Primal Health Coach Institute, which I have to say, Primal Health Coach, it's incredible because not only do you learn a lot about the science of human nutrition and the concepts of nutrition and low carb nutrition and whole foods based nutrition, animal based nutrition. Yep. I don't know if they've put if they put any more of a keto emphasis on it now, but I know that Mark Sisson has come out with keto products. So I would imagine that they would have more in there about keto now. But there's also movement. Primal Movement was a part of that. And they've built it out even more since I did it. And the coolest thing was that I still have access for life. So every time that they update it, they send something out so all of the grads know about it. We can get back in there. We can continue to educate ourselves. And they have added a lot to help coaches become good coaches.
Yeah. So let's do this. I think the key point that we want to make out of this that I'm hearing us talk about is we didn't just get certified to get certified. We saw a need in ourselves that we wanted to improve. So we found a tool to help us fill that hole and make us better as coaches. So that's the one thing. If you're looking at getting started, figure out, if you're brand new, then anything is going to be better than nothing. Get anything, whatever you can afford, whatever you feel like you can do. If it's fitness, if it's nutrition, if it's mindset, if it's behavior change, if it's business, whatever it may be, any of it's going to be good. Okay. Just like a beginner in fitness. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're just getting started with fitness, do something and you're going to make improvement. Okay. Let's do this. Let's talk about, I'll go down the list of all the training and certifications I have. You can go with the ones you have. And then we have to pick which one we think has been the most impactful on
That's going to be tough.
On ourselves.
All right, you've already gone through your millions of fitness certifications.
Well,
so
some of them.
Since then, what have you done?
Some of them. Okay, so the fitness ones, we talked about the CrossFit one. So CrossFit, we talked about level 1.
You talked about all these other ones.
Then there's also level 2 and level 3, which I have as well. So
and then you already said the powerlifting and all
right.
of it.
So I'm a certified CrossFit trainer. which is almost the top level of CrossFit trainers that you can be. There's not nearly as many of us. It's super special. Then there's USAPL, USA Powerlifting Level 2, USAW, which is USA Weightlifting, Certified Personal Trainer through NASM, Functional Movement Screen, Kettlebell Certified, CrossFit Weightlifting. Those are the fitness ones. Then there is more recently, because of the nutrition and the coaching aspect of what I'm doing now, particularly virtually, where virtually the behavior change stuff I think is more impactful than when you're working with people every day. When I see someone every day at the gym, it's a little easier to work through the nuances of what they're dealing with and things like that than when I see them once a week or once a month or whatever else. So getting the behavior change specialist certification was super cool to go through understanding a lot more of the psychology of the human brain and things like that. So we got behavior change specialist.
You did precision nutrition.
Precision nutrition, which was really good to get a base understanding of the science behind nutrition compared to what I've already known, what I've known and gotten the own research and that I've done based on keto and carnivore, things like that. So precision nutrition, behavior change specialist. And then I also got, it's not technically a certification, but the Nutrition Network has a low-carb ketogenic professional training that I've been through as well. That's okay. So a handful more things.
A little bit. And this is the guy that gave me a hard time when we first met about all of my certifications and how I had to stop getting certifications.
It was more the fact that you had paid for a bunch that you hadn't finished.
That's true. I tend to.
She stockpiles accounts and then never finishes the training.
Can we talk about the fact that yesterday one of my clients brought up that she was recertifying with precision nutrition, and I thought about the fact that I never finished my precision nutrition cert, and I pulled it back up yesterday. I was like, you know what? Let's knock this out.
Right? When I was working on it, you had started working on it, but then you got
I think I purchased it back in 2020. And
right, I never did it.
I never did it at all.
I thought you pulled it out and we're starting to look at it again when I was doing it. Oh, guess not.
I did like the first chapter and then I never finished it. So precision will get done this year.
But see, that's one of those things here too. You don't really need to. Right? You've got to talk about what you've got because everything you have covers everything in precision nutrition.
Well, and that's the thing. It's interesting because I'm hearing you say all of these and I'm like, yeah, I don't have that many really. It's just, it was more about the depth of knowledge, I suppose, and the experience and using it.
Well, and the differences, right? Most of mine were fitness related, and I threw on some of the coaching and the nutrition stuff. And you started on the nutrition side,
right? With coaching, exactly. So, the first one, I think I actually did before I did Primal Health Coach, and it was a life coaching certification.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And
go figure. Who would have thought?
I've always been into the woo-woo. I've always been a big Tony Robbins fan. And this one was, I don't even remember how it landed in my inbox. But somehow I found out about it. The Robbins Madonna. So it's Tony Robbins, Chloe Madonna's Master Coach certifications. And they have a ton of different ones you can pick from. But I just did the Core 100, which is or RMT Core 100, which was like the first 100 hours of life coach training. And it's based on 6 Human Needs Psychology, which is what Tony Robbins, what his coaching style is based off. So that was powerful to me because it's about understanding human psychology and people's motivations for change and understanding what's holding people back. So that was huge. I did that way back in 2017. And then Primal Health Coach Institute was really where, and I should say all this, I should preface this by saying, in college I was a dance major, so I also took human anatomy and physiology. I had to understand how the human body moved. I had to understand basic biology of the human body. So, and I say basic, but beyond like biology 101. So I did have a good understanding of the way the human body moved already, and the systems of the body. So getting into the certifications that I took later for nutrition, it was a little easier for me to make the connections of what they were talking about. I understood some of the concepts already. So it cut down, too, on the amount of time it takes to get through these certifications. if these concepts are brand new to you, it may take you a while to get through a certification. So Primal Health Coach was incredible because, like I said, it touched on the nutrition, body, human body, the systems of the human body, movement, and coaching practices. And now they've added in coaching practicums. You have to do practice hours. It's a lot more comprehensive. So really great stuff there. So that was really those were the first two. And then it wasn't until I think that carried me until 2020 when I decided I wanted more. Now, my motivation was a little different. Instead of simply being about geeking out on the concepts, and this is why Bronson, he's over here smiling because he's a total geek. So yeah, he loves to geek out. I love to geek out too, but for me, it'll be like a drill down topic. So I will go into podcasts and I will go into YouTubes and I will go into articles, and he does the same thing. And we should also explain that we don't have all of our education from certifications and courses.
Oh, no, not at all. No.
We do this on a regular basis all the time. We are reading literature. We are hearing different perspectives than our own, and we're researching it to learn more. We don't sit here and think that we've figured it all out because we read one book or we listened to one podcast or we got one certification.
Yeah.
And we don't take anyone's word.
Yeah. There are regular times.
For anything.
Regular times, how would I say? There are frequent times. That's not even grammatically correct. Frequently, something will happen. She'll have a podcast on. I'll have a podcast on. We'll see a post. We'll see a paper, an article, a study, whatever, that will make us go, huh?
Wait a minute.
That doesn't make any sense. And then we'll go figure. We'll look at it. We'll dig into it. I like that aspect of what we do because I feel like with the amount of information that's out there and the amount of people that are providing information, good, bad, or different, there's always something to figure out about what actually works. And this is where, when she says geek out, I want to clarify a little bit about the difference of how I geek out versus how I think a lot of people geek out. A lot of people in this space geek out on the data. I geek out on the application. I geek out on understanding what I need to out of the information that's available and how we apply it to everyday life. I geek out on what does this mean for me? What does this mean for that person? What does this mean for whomever? How can we apply this to a problem? I'm a problem solver. So don't ask me what the definition of a telomere is. Don't ask me what the components of muscle biology are. I can find that for you. I'm very much a guy, and this is something that I get from my IT space, from my IT background. The information is there if I need it. I don't need to keep it here. Okay, so I don't care if I know every muscle in the human body. I don't need to know every muscle in the human body. What I need to understand is, how does the shoulder joint work? And how does that apply to a client lifting something over their head? That's what I need to understand. So that's the kind of stuff that I geek out on. And I don't geek out on knowing as much information as possible because who gives a crap? It's all in Google. I can find out literally anything I can need to know. I can find out in 30 seconds without having to memorize it. And that's kind of how I look at this.
And he loves to understand how things work, the mechanisms. Yeah. Whereas I'm going to take that one step further and say we're the same in that I like to understand application. And practical application.
Right.
But one step further, I love big picture. Mm-hmm. He'll love to understand the mechanism behind it. I'm just going to tell you this is what you need to do. Don't ask me to explain. Sometimes I'm gonna be able to recall off the top of my head the mechanisms and get into it and explain it to you. But most of the time, I am skimming for the gist. Get to the point. I want to understand why, I might understand why it's important, right? Yeah. But I'm not going to be explaining all the mechanisms.
Right, because it's based on our ability with the experience that we have, the knowledge that we have to say, okay, this makes sense based on the 10 years I have and what I've seen work in other people.
Right. I'm
If it
not
doesn't
going to
make
be
sense compared to that, then wait, this
sharing.
isn't something I'm going to share. I'm going to figure this
Right.
out first, right? It's
Don't
not
ask
just-
me for a source.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you real life is the source. And that's what we like to call ourselves, results-based versus
100%.
evidence-based or science-based.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what the studies say. If I encourage my client to do it and it's not working for them,
Gotta
I'm not
find
going to
something else.
make them do what some study says.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. Let's get back to the education, right?
Yeah.
And I said that he was giving me a hard time about certs because in 2020, at the time, I was hiding behind getting the next certification
To kick off your business.
to avoid launching and avoid going to the next level.
Failure
I
to
was
launch.
keeping it very small. It was like, okay, I have my couple of clients, and I was just afraid to really put myself out there and take on more clients. And yeah, he totally called me out. So yes, you get credit for that.
And then she met me. And look at her now. She's doing better than my business. Her business is doing better than my business right now. It's because you're a girl.
It's because I'm woo-woo.
You're more woo.
I hit him in the feels.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2020 was when I was like, okay, I'm going to get some more education. Well, also everything shut down. So I was like, what else am I doing, right?
Mhm.
So I got the PN, the precision nutrition, but I didn't end up doing it. I think that was also when I may have signed, I did. I think that's when I signed up for NASM.
Okay.
But I, once again, didn't do it. I only got the certified personal trainer from NASM because I was working for a gym at the time. And I was working front desk and they wanted me to be a coach. And I couldn't be a coach for them without one of the largest, well-known certifying bodies.
Right.
So like ACE.
Accredited certified.
Accredited, exactly. So I went with NASM. I'm glad I did because I learned about movement patterns and understanding.
kinesiology
Yeah, it was helpful. And it was helpful for understanding just how to program for people. Although I will say, at that point, I was already a professional bodybuilder. I already understood what I needed to understand from practical application about putting together bodybuilding programs for the purpose of muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth. So I still have my way of doing things when I'm training people. But that was a helpful thing to do. So I did that. I think I finished it in 2020, or I may have finished it early 2021. And that was when I decided to go for the Nutritional Therapy Association. I think it was the very end of 2020. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to do this for 5 or so years. I never pulled the trigger on it. 2021, I knew was going to be a building year. So I was like, you know what? Let me just pour myself into it. I'm glad I did because nutritional therapy, out of everything that I did, I felt like I was getting a master's degree or a PhD.
Yeah, there's
it
a
was
lot
just
of information in there.
so much reading and so much clinical application.
I was going to say, you had to do like practicums, right? You had to work with people for a while. Yeah.
You have to work with people. You have to write out clinical evaluations. It was very in-depth. So I remember because I was finishing it up when we met.
Yeah.
And it was like, I just have to finish this by December. I did
jamming
nothing.
She
It
was
was like
jamming it. Yeah.
Yeah, tunnel vision.
I'm glad you did that though. But okay, so between the two, it sounds like the two most impactful would have been Primal or NTA.
Yeah.
Which one would you pick as being your number one? If someone had to choose between the two.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be a tough one. They're very similar in many ways. I think it would depend, and I think this is what I would say for anyone anyway. It's going to depend on what you want to do with the certification. So as you're thinking about becoming a coach, think about what you want to do with it. What kind of a coach do you want to be? Who do you want to coach? How do you want to coach? Do you want to put together programs? Do you want to work with people one-on-one? Do you want to work in a clinical setting, maybe as a health coach in a doctor's office or with a functional doctor or something like that? With the main difference, I guess the best way to describe them, NTA definitely has that more of a clinical approach to things, and there's a more of an emphasis on supplements understanding supplements and how to, I can't say prescribe, but recommend supplements.
Right,
for
because they're more
clients.
about breaking down the symptoms and then linking that to the deficiencies.
Bodily
right?
systems, yep.
Systems to deficiencies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then it's all about how do you replenish those deficiencies. And it's a much more, I guess I would say, I don't know how to say this. This is less glovemorphous, so I should just say it. But they toe the line, in my opinion, on nutritional. They're not taking a stance.
They're trying to stay within the guidelines, but also say just
yeah. So it's a very broad application, which, hey, that's their mission, right? Like they're not trying to speak to a niche group, whereas Primal Health Coach takes a pretty hard stand. I mean, what I love about Primal Health, though, too, and Mark Sisson in the way that he's done things, is that he's always had his eye, and the company has their eye on the latest science. So if new science is coming out, they're not going to stay dogmatic about something. They are going to share the newest science about it.
And that's one thing I don't like about pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at precision, one of the biggest problems I had going through the precision nutrition course is there's a lot of stuff in there that's blatantly wrong. Even for standard American knowledge, there's stuff that's in there that's blatantly wrong. I say, why? What? How can? And it's 2022. When I did it, how in the world can they be saying this?
That's another reason why I never finished it, because I knew it would be mainstream.
Yeah.
And I knew I wouldn't agree with a lot of what they have to say. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to have to regurgitate to someone back what they're saying when I know it's wrong. Although I also had to do a lot of that with NASM, because NASM does touch on the nutrition stuff, and they're very traditional. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't really pick one, because it's going to depend on what you're more interested in. But what I will say is this: they both, PHCI and NTA, they both have an incredible coaching practicum curriculum. And both of them, I think you have to go to the second level with Primal Health Coach, but NTA, both of them would prepare you to sit for a board-certified coach exam. I forget what it's. And there's a long
there's different
acronym for it. But you can sit for the exam with both of those. And as a coach, that would be something to consider.
To be a board-certified wellness coach, right?
I don't remember
what. It's not nutrition. It's got to be wellness.
It's not nutrition. It might be health. I don't remember.
Health coach.
Health coach. Okay. But I told Bronson if I ever do anything more than now, which I do want to continue. We're both lifelong learners, and we're going to continue to advance our education in our fields, because
you can't be a coach without it.
We're passionate about it, right? You have to continue to stay on the cutting edge, understand the newest things that are coming out, do the research, don't rely on people's word for it, but continue to educate yourself. But I said probably the next thing I would strive for, if I really want to spend the time doing it, would be sitting for the exam.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And that's something that if you are somebody who wants to be a coach because you want to make it a career, in that you want to be able to go get a job in coaching, which I will say is going to be a massive
it's already
industry.
Growing. It's already growing. If you're interested in doing this, don't even worry about running your own business and making a business out of it. That's a lot of work. It is totally. Like, ask us.
If you don't want to be an entrepreneur,
the entrepreneur aspect of this whole discussion, but if you want to get a job in it, it's blowing up, and it's only going to get better.
They are going to require certifications and certain ones. Unfortunately, a lot of them are still requiring traditional education in either licensed therapy or like psychology or behavioral health.
Yeah, some of them, as long as you have a degree, and then you take the course, if you get the accredited board certification.
So that board certification means a lot in that space.
And it's interesting you say that, because I'm in the process of, I will soon be in the process of finishing my degree. And that is potentially on the horizon for me, of getting a board certified health, wellness, or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. But
I also
that may be in the
forgot to
future.
mention that I also did the behavioral health certification.
Oh, yeah, you did that too.
NASM
Yeah, we did
as
that
well.
around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which really was basically a regurgitation of what I learned in NTA. And had I gone through the more recent Primal, they've added all that in there too.
Gotcha.
Here's a great recommendation for anybody listening who is interested in coaching. Pick up the book Motivational Interviewing. It was a textbook for NTA. I don't know if PHCI is requiring it or not, but motivational interviewing is going to be at the basis of any good coaching program that's going to teach you about coaching.
Yeah.
And really, it's not even just coaching. You could pick up that book and better understand how to communicate with the people in your life.
Well, let's do this. Let's end this with your top 3 book suggestions for people who are interested in coaching.
Oh, gosh. Okay, you go first.
Help First, Start with Why, and Conscious Coaching.
Do you
Help
have
First.
all 3 of those in paperback?
I have all 3 of them, yeah.
I didn't know about conscious
I actually
coaching.
contributed to one of them. So Help First is a book by Chris Cooper, and it's basically the idea of, it's a little bit of the mentality of what it means to put someone else first. And as a coach, what it means to focus on what someone else needs and how you can help them meet that need from the coaching perspective, but also from the business owner perspective. So if you're looking at being a coach as an entrepreneur, it helps you put yourself in the framework of, my business and every decision I make needs to be focused on helping the people I'm trying to serve, right? Then Start with Why. We don't need to talk about that. Simon Sinek, that is the top 3 book, one of the top 3 books on my list of all-time books. Understanding your why it's important, how to not lose it, all that kind of stuff. And then the third one is Conscious Coaching by Brett Bartholomew. And he breaks down basically the way, it's amazing what he did. He broke down personality types and archetypes. So the types of people, and he gave them names. And then he broke down how these different archetypes of people respond best to interpersonal relationships.
Oh,
and
interesting.
interaction and communication, and how to communicate with each of these different types of people differently.
Okay.
So that you can connect. His whole thing is, it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. If you can't get buy-in from the people you're trying to help, they're not going to see progress. So how do you connect with people? And he's just got this whole thing. How do you evaluate the people that you're working with to say, how do they respond best to communication? What is their process? And then be able to train yourself because as a coach, I've got dozens of clients. They all have different things that they respond to. I have to be flexible in my ability to communicate based on the person I'm talking to.
Absolutely.
I can't just be 100% the same way with everybody, because that won't work with everybody.
Yep. You can't have a script for your calls. You just have to be present with the person.
Yeah.
That's really where it all comes down to. I don't have 3 titles at the front of my mind. I remember concepts from books, and then sometimes I do not remember the titles. But motivational interviewing for sure. Yeah. It's the Gretchen Rubin one. I think you bought it because I told you about it. It was about habits.
I can't remember the name.
I'm forgetting the name of it, but
I'm going to Google it while you're talking.
You just reminded me when you said the personality types, because she talks about the 4 tendencies. She talks about it in this book, but it's not the 4 tendencies. It's a different book.
Getting Started Habits? 4 Foundation Habits?
No, it's none of those.
21 Strategies for Habit Change?
Of course.
Oh, Better Than Before?
Better Than Before. That's what it was, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. And that was, click on it, because the description will talk about...
Learn what I learned about making and breaking habits to sleep more, quit sugar,
procrastinate
less, and generally build a happier life.
Yeah. And she talks about her 4 tendencies in there and how that relates to habit change. Right. Because we all have different motivators. Yeah.
And honestly, if I were to expand my list, then The Power of Habits and Atomic Habits would be added.
Oh, definitely.
Like there's 3 books, guys. If you want to be a good coach, understand habits and how to change them, and that's going to take you far.
And now I'm forgetting there was a third. You might have gotten this one as well, or you might have read my copy of it. But it was more about you as the coach developing your practice.
Mm.
And it was initially the connecting to your why and then walking you through that and marketing your business and all of that. And now I'm completely blanking on what the name was.
We can find it and put it in the notes or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, it's remind me when I'm producing this to put all the book links.
Oh, there you go.
In the description, so we have that on the side.
We can put them on our Amazon lists and share our Amazon
Yeah, I think most of mine probably are, but I'll double check. Cool. All right. Anything you want to leave people with? I feel like we could still continue because there's a whole nother aspect we didn't talk about is like just being a coach. How do we look at helping people?
Yeah, but this was supposed to be about our journey and how we got here.
This is where we could go into a whole nother rabbit hole.
So we will have other episodes about coaching for sure.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being live. We're going to end this now. This
Hopefully we didn't bore you with this topic.
In a couple weeks, in a week or so, if you want to listen to it on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. We are going to try and do this. We have not 100% committed, but we have said we are going to try and do this once a week.
Every week.
All right. So you can expect every Friday daytime. Well,
no,
maybe not every Friday.
We're switching it from Fridays.
It's going to be Saturdays now?
Saturdays. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start doing this on Saturdays. All right.
Well, that may change. We'll keep you posted.
Right now, next Saturday, right? Is next Saturday? Yes,
next Saturday.
Next Saturday. We don't know exactly what time, but you can expect to see us live next Saturday. Cool. See you guys.
See y'all then.
Oh, and don't forget to
eat, lift, sleep, repeat.